everyone, and welcome to my modern drum and bass tutorial in FL Studio, where we're going to be putting together a drum and bass track from completely empty, a brand new project here, fully from scratch. Hopefully you do pick up on a lot of production tips in this video. Like and subscribe if you do. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump straight into it here. So the very first thing, and this is often how I find myself starting tracks right now, we're going to open up a synth. I'll use Vital for this because Vital is free, so this is something that's nice and accessible that anybody could get. And a new way that I've started writing tracks is actually, I put together a bass line with just a random saw patch like we have here, and then I'll write a lead melody over top that. And I think if it sounds good with something as plain as a saw, it'll sound good once we give those elements like their own sound. We're going to start with a bass line. So I'm going to turn on metronome and just play in something I think would sound good. Have it go to here, and then I know a chord progression that I usually do. Something like this. So our bass line right now is this. Obviously it's not going to stay as this sound. But before we do any sound design, we're going to try to come up with a lead melody. So I'm just going to play this, and just over here I'm going to try to see if I come up with a melody over top it. I like that. That's actually pretty decent. We're going to draw that in. That loops pretty nicely. I think this could turn itself into a really cool track here. So now what I'll do is I'll separate these two sounds, because obviously we're not going to want them together because we're going to do sound design. So I'm going to copy and delete that lead melody, open up another instance of Vital, and we're going to paste it in. And this is where we're going to mess with some sound design, because right now, we only have two elements, but we have our two most important elements. Like when the drop hits, these are going to be the two main things. Obviously there will be supporting stuff like background synths, whatever, but this is going to be the main attraction, if you will. So I think first off, I want to work on bass. So we're going to put our lead on another mixer and just mute it for now so we don't have to hear it. And we're going to try to come up with a cool bass patch. So I don't really have an idea for how I'm going to go about this, so I'll sort of show my process of how I do it. Right now, the very first thing I'm going to do is just go through and find a wavetable. We're going to listen for movements by moving the frame here. It's going to be this one, I think. So I'm hearing a cool little movement that we're going to draw in with LFO here. So if I drag LFO1 to the position, you're going to see it's going to move like this. It's following that, and this is where we could draw in something. Turn on the high pass to get rid of any unnecessary low end, because we're going to replace it with a stable fundamental after. That would be a cool movement. Do this. We're going to add a sine wave. Now we have stable sub bass that's not being affected by any of those curves that we've drawn in. Maybe for oscillator 3, we'll just have a stereo kind of unison layer. Now under our effects tab, we could add some more interesting stuff just to spice it up a bit. Chorus, but make sure not to get low end in that. And distortion, crunch it up a bit. We just did a little bit of saturation on this sound. Cleaned up the low end. Got rid of a bit of mud in this region, but not too much because this is very important to the tone of the sound. So we just flattened it out a little bit. Now if we look at our waveform, you can see this looks like a good bass. This is going to hit right. We're going to level things by turning it up a bit. I also want to add an EQ because I think that high end's a little annoying. Tame it a bit. Even over here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this bass sound. It's going to exist mainly in the background, so it's not too important right now. In terms of high-end content, it's going to be masked by a lot of what our lead will do, which right now is just a saw wave. So obviously if we put these two together, it's just going to sound stupid, but... And I know this is only a 4-bar loop, obviously we'll extend that and make the melody longer. But right now, I think we need to do some lead sound design. So I'm hearing a simple kind of saw lead for this. Obviously not just default like it is now, but we're going to turn on oscillator 2, go up an octave, I think, and give it a little bit of unison. The tone is sounding pretty cool so far, but the high end is a mess. This is something I've already kind of mentioned with the bass, but we're getting rid of unnecessary highs because if you do this nice and early, you'll have a lot of space for when it comes to the drum portion of drum and bass, obviously. You just don't really need all this, like, fizzle that's up here. That could go. I think we're gonna add in another layer. That's like a square or something. And now some post-processing to get this sitting nicely as well. I'm gonna saturate the fundamental and just that upper harmonic as well. These will sound very nice crushed together like that. And I think a sound like this is really gonna like soothe. If you don't know what soothe does, it's a dynamic resonance suppressor, so it's gonna like automatically find harsh frequencies and kind of reduce them. You could hear what it's taken out here. That's very glassy is the word I'd use to describe it. And that just tames it pretty nicely. Don't want to overdo it though. So now if we listen to these two sounds together, we should get a good feel for what our drop will sound like in a bit. Our lead sound is a little too far away, and if you ever have that happening, all it means is you need to lower the mix level of your reverb, your chorus, just a bit, and it'll dry things up, bring them back closer. I think I'm going to make this lead a bit better by adding it to a new mixer channel, but also the master at the same time. So you see it's going to both. We don't want to hit play right now because it'll be going twice. But we're going to add a delay plugin and get rid of the dry level. This means we're going to have a delay send that you could add effects to afterwards separately. So right now it sounds bad, but what we could do is take an EQ and mess with just the effect. So like get rid of lows, get rid of some highs, so it's just mids really. Following that, we could add anything that you want to sidechain with and have it duck. And we're going to come up with a second half for the melody, because right now it was just for sound design. So like... So we're almost to drums. I think before we do that though, I do want to add a chord layer just to kind of fill out the frequency spectrum a little bit more. So what we're going to do for that, this is how I usually do chords. I look at my bass layer, because that's giving us the root note of our chords automatically. And we're going to just kind of draw in a simplified version of the bass line. This is how I do it. It works for me and it's really fast. So simple just means like we're going to skip all the passing notes, octave jumps, anything. Just have this going on. Put that up an octave, and I'll duplicate it as well, and put it another octave. I've showed this trick in a lot of videos, but I'm going to go over it again because I think it's super helpful. You want to come up with chords, take your root note, copy and paste, and you're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, copy and paste again, and then go 5, 6, 7. So this is giving you all major chords. To get very simple chords out of your bass line, give this a listen. If the chord sounds bad, like it's not playing well, take your middle note, which as I say, this is going to be a major chord right now, take it down 1. That'll give you a minor chord. So we're going to listen to it. I just kind of do this by ear. This is how I work things out. So I think right away that first chord, I don't like it. I think it wants to be minor. I'm happy with that. Obviously this is a basic progression. We could add voicing and stuff, do whatever we want to it later. But for now, we're going to put that on a mixer channel and kind of mix it in with the rest of our elements here. So I'm going to put it on its own pattern as well. And let's see how we can get this to play with other things. So when I'm putting together a track, I like to take all of my melodic elements, basically anything I want sidechained, move them over to a new channel, like this. So this one we're going to undo from the master and have it go to that as well. And just do this. This way I could put my sidechain all on one. I have in-depth videos going over how to sidechain, so I'll kind of skip over that for this video, because it's a bit more technical, but if you want to go see that, you can. But we're just going to get a sidechain set up, so we're ready to add in our drums. I like that one. Now obviously we'll just want like some kind of top loop to put things together and make it start to sound full like an actual drum and bass track. So simple, but it's nice. Right, so now we have an 8-bar loop, but you see, the idea of the track is here now, and this could function as like a drop. Obviously we want to start fleshing things out with more like high-end melodic content like that. But this is how I go about putting together a drop. So now I think before we mess with like intro or build up, we're just gonna add some ear candy elements to make the drop sound a bit better, because right now it really only has like 3 main elements, 2 of which are kind of important. So we're just gonna try fleshing this out a bit. So this is mainly just adding like little plucks or just like cool little one-shots that sound good and fit with this. I have one that I grab quite a bit, this. But if we just get that on the note that it wants to be. It's added quite a bit. We're also just going to do some cool little like zappy high-end synths. Just something that exists like way up here. Get a little easier to listen to and throw that into the mix. So we have a bit of an outline of a drop. I'm actually going to move this over because I think I'm starting to get an idea for like how a build-up would go. We're going to take our chords and make a new patch, which is just going to be like a saw that kind of opens up over time, which is really nice for build-ups. So do a little something like this. And we'll have this move like whenever we want it to. Just put it on like a macro so we can control it like this. Automate that over time. And this is also where we will suggest the lead melody a little bit, like low pass it and have it come in. So it's basically to follow the same kind of thing. Grab some like risers and crashes to kind of contextualize that a bit. Although usually for like a drum and bass track, obviously right now, our intro, super placeholder, this is not how it would stay, but like you'd have more to kind of contextualize this, and you'd maybe have drums coming in here. So I have a couple of drum rolls we could try adding to this, see if that makes it sound a little nicer. I think I'm gonna mix in a break or something. Just have this kind of do the exact same thing that the saw and the lead is doing, where it's low pass and it opens up a little over time. This should play nicely with the riser. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that so far. I'm considering doing a part 2 on this project if you want to see how I'd go about like from this stage, extending the drop, maybe fleshing out the intro, making it really good. But right now, you see, even though this is a super short project, we've kind of put this together in a way where you sort of have everything you need. Like we could easily make an intro from here, we have what our drop's gonna do, we could design like a B section from there, and eventually turn this into a full track. So if you want to see a part 2 of this, let me know in the comments below. But let me know what you think of this track as well, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.